Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, it's morning when I don't know what time it's going to be when you're watching this. But for me, it's like 9:30 a.m. in Cleveland, Ohio. This is not going to be like a regular video I do today. Um, I'm getting ready to go to work. Yeah, I work a lot. But I figure I got people are watching these videos and that's awesome. I love it, man. Thank you guys very much. But I figure if you guys are going to take the time to watch these videos, which I very much appreciate, you should probably get to know me a little bit, or at least know who you're watching. Um, my name's Johnny, and I've been a wrestling fan since I can still, you know what? I can still remember to this day the very first wrestling match that I ever seen. I was about 7 years old, and it was 1983. And my mom had gone out for the night, and there was a babysitter at the house. And I just remember, the babysitter and her friends being out in the living room. And I went back to my mom's room and was watching TV in my mom's room because she had like this little TV sitting on her dresser. And this was 1983. And I'm back there and I'm just like flipping through channels. I re- I was looking for that Spider-Man show that was on in the 70s that they would run in syndication. That really cheesy one, man. The really bad one. But, like, I was looking for that. And when I was flipping channels, I saw just chaos for a hot second and I stopped. And there was this dude with this, like, white blonde hair with a face full of blood, and his hair was all you could see red in his hair from where it was all bloody because his hair was white. And there was a guy beating him up that had like this old man afro with this funny mustache, this old white man afro with this funny mustache. I had no idea what was going on. All I know was people were going nuts. There was a crowd and people were going nuts. And this guy was beating the hell out of this other dude that had it wild, wild. Well, I come to find out later in life, I grew up in a small town in southeastern Ohio, man. I've been in Cleveland for like about 25 years now, though. But I grew up in a small little southeastern Ohio town. It's like at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. It's actually closer to West Virginia than it is Cleveland. But what I was seeing was Mid-Atlantic Wrestling from 1983 on a station from West Virginia because we had the big antenna on top of the roof, and it was Ric Flair and Harley Race. So yeah, the very first wrestling match I ever seen was a Ric Flair Harley Race match. But like, I didn't see it on TV again. And it was just something that like went like it just okay. I easily got focused on other shit. I'm an ADD kid, but I got into like He-Man and Voltron and Transformers and GI Joe. And I've always been a comic book nerd, so I love Superman and Batman and Spider-Man and Captain. I like the old school comic book heroes, man. Cause I'm old, I'm old. I'm 49. What y'all want, bro? But I can remember I was about 10. This is about 3 years later. And I was like really big into Saturday morning cartoons. That was my shit. Every Saturday morning, get up, watch cartoons. Like Muppet Babies. Oh my god, I love Muppet Babies. Muppet Babies were the shit. But yeah, don't laugh at me, man. Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons was a cool show. There was one about like some monster kids in high school. I can't remember what it was. But I remember one morning I was watching Saturday morning cartoons, and there was a Hulk Hogan cartoon. Now I had heard the name Hulk Hogan, but I had no idea what the fuck he did. Because I watched the A Team a lot. I saw Mr. T, and like I had heard the name Hulk Hogan, but I didn't really know. I knew it was like, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But then I started watching this cartoon, and I'm like, oh, that's that shit I seen a few years ago. but it was different. But it was like this cartoon about it, but they would go to like different random like matches. Or they would like show highlights of like different little matches, like little clips. And I was like, oh, that's that shit that I'd seen. And, so I started watching that cartoon, but really never watched any wrestling like past that. Until like 6 months later, man. I remember my parents, or my mom and the guy she was married to at the time, but they were having a party and we had to go stay the night somewhere with one of my sister's friends. And their brother was watching something on TV, and it was this guy dressed up like Elvis named the Honky Tonk Man, and he was in this thing that looked like it was a bunch of caves with water running down it, and this dude with a mullet and a mustache named Jake the Snake. I had no idea who these people were, but he smacked this motherfucker in the head with a guitar so goddamn hard, bro. And I was like, oh. And then later they was showing clips of like this Hulk Hogan dude that I seen on cartoons going against this guy Andre the Giant. Like they were facing off, and like Andre had been his friend, and Andre had just turned on him. And I'm like, oh, why would anybody do that to Hulk Hogan? He seems like such a nice guy. But bro, and then I just started paying attention to it after that. Like, it was right to the build of WrestleMania 3. It was like late January, early February of like 1987 is when I really started watching, man. And then like I seen highlights of WrestleMania 3 because my mom started videotaping Saturday night's main event for me. And because I wasn't allowed to stay up that late, so she'd videotape it for me. I'd watch it that next day. And they were showing highlights of WrestleMania 3, and I'd seen it, and like there were so many people, and I had never seen anything that big in my entire life, man. There was just this small ring and this just vast cavernous sea of people, and I was like, holy shit, look at all those people with this thing. This has got to be what it is, man. And so like a couple months later, the videotape for WrestleMania 3 came out, and I watched it, and then I was just hooked. Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage was like the dopest thing I'd ever seen in my life, man. And I was just hooked after that. Dude, that's the match that got me hooked on all of this, was Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, man. And then I was obsessed with wrestling, man, and was the majority of my life. Like, it was like I was just obsessed. I was videotaping everything. I was tape trading with people, just buying every magazine, man. I had like a room full of nothing but like Pro Wrestling Illustrateds, The Wrestler, Wrestling Eye, Inside Wrestling, all those good Abner mags, man. Had them all. And I got older, I got married, and shit just started happening in life that I didn't really handle well, man. I did not have the emotional maturity at the time to handle the things that I was dealing with, and I just dealt with it wrong. And I became a drug addict for a very long time. For close to a decade, actually. I went to prison. I fucked up really bad, and I went to prison, man. I was actually kind of worse after I got out of prison. Like, just more drugs. Didn't really get in trouble. Didn't get caught for anything. But, man, I was just living foul. I was living foul as fuck. And, and I fell away from the things that I loved. Just drugs and surviving were the things that I loved more than anything for a while, man. And I fucked everything up. But it got to the point to where I knew I needed to make a change, or this is who I was going to be for the rest of my life. And it was like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to be this for the rest of your life, or are you going to do something different, man? I tried meetings; those didn't really work. Like, but yo, if you go to meetings, I'm not knocking AA or NA whatsoever, man. If you're one of those people that go to those meetings and those work for you, bro, that is beautiful. That is lovely, man. God bless you. But it just didn't take for me, man. I tried rehabs, that would work for a minute. And then when I would get out, it would just be like, back to the same shit. And it was to the point where it's like, I want something different. I need something different, or I'm going to die. And I don't want to die. And I mean, and it was like, okay, I've tried everything. I've tried rehabs. I've tried fucking meetings. I've tried to just stop. And it was like, but I was sitting in someone's house one night because I was a drug addict. I didn't have a house of my own, but and I'm just like laying on their couch, man. And I'm like, who was I? Like, who was I before all of this shit started? Like, before all this chaos and mayhem and destruction and just ruined relationships and ruined family and ruined friendships. Like, who was I before this? Man, I was just a nerd that loved comic books and pro wrestling. So I just like, I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try something different, man. I'm just going to throw myself back into the things that I loved when I was a kid. For real. So I threw myself back into that culture of comic books and pro wrestling and just, it, and just loving it. 15 years later, I no drug, like, marijuana is not a drug. I don't care what people tell you, marijuana is not a drug. Marijuana has actually helped me a lot, man. So I'm what they call California sober in Cleveland. I just smoke weed. I don't smoke crack. I don't do coke. I don't fuck with no pills. I don't even drink alcohol, y'all. Like, I don't even smoke cigarettes anymore. But, yeah, so 15 years later, and it's still working. I love pro wrestling. I love comic books. I love talking to people about it. I love engaging about it. And, so in a lot of ways, pro wrestling has saved my fucking life, and I will forever be grateful to it for it. And, that's just a little bit about me. Anybody got a similar story, man? I doubt, but because I was a major fuck up for a long time. But hey, you never know. There could be more people like me out there. But, if you got a similar story, just, drop something in the comments. Give me a like, hit subscribe. I'll hit you guys up here shortly. As soon as I learn how to speak English again, I will hit you guys up here shortly with another Spark a Match. We're like 3.5 weeks out from WrestleMania, so everything from this point on the channel is going to be WrestleMania related until WrestleMania. So yeah, we're going to have fun with that. So I'll hit you guys up here soon with a Spark a Match, and I'll holler at you guys later. Have a great day, stay blessed, and remember, if you're in a bad situation, it don't stay bad forever, man. Holler at y'all later.